Hey, this is Screaming Geek Media. I'm Jerry the Geek. Today I'm bringing you part 3 of the evolution of physical media. This was going to be the third and final episode as it regards all of the digital video disc media, but there was so many, there's like about 8 different formats to go over, so I decided to split it up. So this one will have the first 5, which is standard definition, and my next video will be the final one, which will include the high-def digital video disc. But before we get started, if you enjoy anything physical media, movies, home theater, please check out my other videos and like and subscribe and turn your bell notifications on. So let's just dive right in. Like again, this is part 3 of evolution of physical media. My first videos you can check out. The first one was on video cassette formats for movies. Part 2 was video disc, the analog edition. And now we're going to start with the digital video disc. This will include all the standard definition formats, and there's 5 to go over, which will include video CD, DVD, DivX, FlexPlay EZD, and UMD. Besides DVD, the other ones I knew about DivX and Video CD and UMD, but I was unaware of a couple others. Well, we'll start with Video CD. It was also known as compact digital video, but not to be confused with CD video, which was an analog format and was limited to music videos. It was created in 1993 by Sony and Philips, Matsushita, and JVC. This became the first format to store video digitally and could hold 74 to 80 minutes of audio and video on a 650 or 700 megabyte disc. Discs were compatible with most DVD players, but not many Blu-ray players. Outside the US, it was more popular. They did build players exclusively for VCD. Here's a few shots of some that I found online. I don't think those ever sold in the US. I could be wrong. If anyone knows, please leave a comment below. VCD had a brief period of success, but the introduction of the CDR disc and recordable media, they pretty much stopped the release of movies dead in its tracks. There was no copy protection. Studios were afraid of unauthorized copies being made, but years later copy protection was added to the format. As of 2022, VCDs are still being produced for developing territories such as Asia, so they're very popular in those low budget countries. It just never gained much acceptance in North America. VHS has already taken hold, and plus the VHS was less expensive and comparable quality to the VCD, so there really was no reason to switch over to that. But once DVDs became available, the VCDs pretty much became overshadowed and no one really looked at them anymore. I went ahead and I picked up a title on eBay. They're easily available to find for decent prices. I've got Star Wars Episode 1, Phantom Menace. Because of the length of movies and the capacity wise, the CDs, they have to be split up on a 2 disc. This one, these actually do play on my 4K Blu-ray player. Even though these do play, they look like shit, so there'll be no reason why I'd ever want to buy any. Just kind of nice to have for a media collection, so I got one. Okay, next up on the list, as I'm doing these in chronological order by when they're released, we have a DVD, which was a digital video disc, but also known as, technically they switched to digital versatile disc, because in the beginning the computer companies complained that it shouldn't be digital video because there's more, they could be used for more applications such as computers, so they pretty much changed it and then became known as digital versatile disc. But I think everybody just thinks of digital video disc and it's easy as that. And it was launched in Japan in late 1996 and came to the US in 1997. First we'll start with some development. In 1993, 2 new optical disc formats were being developed. Number 1 was a multimedia compact disc, MMCD, backed by Philips and Sony. Number 2 was a super density disc, SD, and it was supported by Toshiba, Time Warner, and several other electronics giants. Now, by January 1995, the MMC moniker was pretty much dropped. Philips and Sony started referring to the format as digital video disc, DVD, while the super density logo was pretty much, was reused later on as secure digital. Now, to ward off another format war, aka VHS versus Beta, a group of computer industry experts was formed and became known as a Technical Working Group, or TWG. In May of 1995, they issued a press release stating that they would accept a single format and voted to boycott both formats unless the two camps could come together on one single format. Finally, in September, Philips and Sony decided that it was in their best interest to end the format war and unify and come out with one standard with technologies from both. And their details were finalized that December, and shortly after, talks began to how they're going to produce and get everything to the retail market. Like I said, the format was released first in Japan, late 1996, but the U.S. release was delayed multiple times and finally settling on March 24th, 1997, in 7 test markets. About 32 titles were available at the launch, mainly from Warner Brothers, MGM, and New Line. Of course, Twister was among the first of those releases. Now, the national rollout of DVD became September of 1997. Some DVD specs for you on the format. The lines of resolution was rated at 480. Your capacity-wise, we had a single-side, single-layer at 4.7 gigabytes. Single-side, dual-layer, 8.5 gigabytes. Now, a double-side, single-layer, you got 9.4 gigabytes, and a double-side double layer we jumped up to 17.08 gigabytes. And of course, unlike other formats, they brought regional coding along, and they actually used numbers 1 to 9, with North America becoming region 1. This prevented DVDs from other countries being played on US or vice versa, whatever, because a lot of times movies were released in different markets at different times. The first DVD players in Japan were the Toshiba SD3000 and a Panasonic DVD A300. In the US, they were launched with the Toshiba SD2006, which retailed for $599, and the SD3006, which retailed for $699. The basic difference between those two models was progressive scan. The 3006, the higher end model, can put out the progressive scan signal through the component video outputs, which was a leap up. Before that we knew S video, so now they took the video and split up into 3 outputs. Now here's a shot of the Toshiba SD2006 model. Pretty basic. I kind of like these early ones. There's no need of having a million buttons on a front of a component when you have a remote control. So I love these early models. So there's hardly anything to it, nice and simple. Later on, we had DVD Vhs Combo Players. Also, they eventually brought out portable DVD players, which was pretty cool for traveling. Now, first generation players did not support DTS. Basically, at the time, at launch, DTS did not have their specs ready on how to, the encoding, decoding, getting the DTS stream from that to the output. And instead of, delaying the launch of DVD, they just left DTS out of it at the moment. It was like, screw you, you're not ready, we're releasing, we don't care. But finally, I think it started with the second and third generations. We had DVD players with DTS. And the first DTS DVD was The Legend of Mulan, which came in November 1998, and early 1999, followed by DTS releases of Dances with Wolves, Dante's Peak, Waterworld, Apollo 13, and Daylight. Now, once DTS DVDs start coming out, you start seeing online a lot of comparisons being made. It was DTS versus Dolby, which is better. It basically boils down to bit rates, how the signal is compressed. I went through several titles to share some numbers with you. Now, titles from Warner, Columbia, and Touchstone with just Dolby Digital had a bit rate of 384 kilobytes per second. The titles from Fox with Dolby Digital had a bit rate of 448 kilobytes per second. So you see that Fox definitely had a little step above on audio quality there. Now, getting to the DTS, titles from Fox with DTS had a bit rate of 754 kilobytes a second, and titles from Universal with DTS had a bit rate of 1.5 megabytes per second. That's almost 3 times the bit rate of some of the Dolby Digital tracks. Basically, it boiled down to, because of an agreement between the DVD group, Dolby, and all the manufacturers, all DVDs had to include some sort of Dolby track. So if they wanted to put a DTS, they couldn't put DTS only, so they had to include Dolby. To get a higher bit rate, they opted to use a Dolby 2.0 track, which only got like 192 kilobytes per second. That way they would get a higher bit rate for the DTS. Now here's a couple shots from an IMAX Super Speedway DVD showing the bit rates of Dolby Digital 5.1 and DTS 5.1. And still DTS knocked the socks off Dolby Digital. The Dolby Digital just compressed too much, and DTS has always been far superior. Now for video bit rates, many titles I sampled average around 3 to 5 megabytes per second, with some Fox titles averaging 6 to 9 megabytes per second. So if you look back, definitely Fox was at the top of the game. They put out some really good quality discs. Now due to the fact that a lot of home theater enthusiasts like myself, sure the bonus features were nice, but that compromised audio and video quality because we were using space for bonus features. I want the best audio video. I could live without the bonus features. I mean, it's nice, but I could live without it. So with the demand, Sony actually put out a super bit line of Columbia TriStar titles to satisfy those demands of the enthusiasts. Basically, the disc would be Dolby Digital 5.1 and DTS 5.1 and no bonus at all. And that was able to get the better bit rates. Where the DTS bit rate had a 754 kilobytes per second, and Dolby's was still only a 448 kilobytes per second. Then, of course, you had some people, starting doing yeah, we want the quality, but also we want the bonus features. So to meet that, they actually extended the line and came out with the Super Bit Deluxe, which had the same thing. The first disc had high bit rates for the audio video, but then a second disc for the bonus. From all of them, I say most of them had this type of look, so it was easily noticeable that it was a Super Bit title. And all of those, approximately 58 Super Bit titles released in the United States and Canada. Again, when it comes down to it, if you don't have a Blu-ray and are still with a DVD format, definitely if you have a choice, find a title with a DTS track. If there was one of each, you're going to get the best quality you can. As far as audio, video, you're kind of limited on DVD. From the start, I didn't like the Dolby Digital tracks. I mean, DVD came out, they had all this fuss about this great new technology, best quality, blah, blah, blah. But when I first put them in, I was like, man, the audio kind of sucks. I mean, it's a nice upgrade for the general consumer going from VHS to DVD. But home theater enthusiasts like myself that had Laserdisc, we already had a really good format. So DVD was only a slight step above that. But as far as audio, it was backwards. Unless it was DTS. I mean, Dolby-wise, the Dolby tracks on DVD sucked. I mean, I'm sorry to say, but they really did. Several of the movies I saw on Laserdisc, I'd like, screw this, I'm not watching a DVD. I'm going to go back to watching on a Laserdisc. Sure, I had to flip the disc or whatnot, which kind of sucked, but the audio track blew the DVD away. But when it came to DTS, yeah, the DTS tracks were really good on DVD. But in total, the upsides of DVD, of course, was the size, the durability, had a disc instead of tape. Capacity, you can actually hold an entire movie on one disc, or a laser disc, you'd have to flip sides, or if it was over 2 hours, you'd actually change the disc. Cost, DVDs were more comparable with $25 to $30 range compared to Laserdisc, which if you bought a movie with one disc, it was $35. And if it was a longer movie, it was 2 discs, you paid $45 to $50. Kind of weird that I bitch and moan now about paying $25, $30 for a 4K when I was spending almost $50 per movie back then. Now, my first DVD player was a Toshiba SD3006, which, like I said, the only difference was the progressive scan component output. So from the front, they looked identical. There's just the amount of hookups on the back. When it came out in March of 1997, it was only being, certain markets. My hometown of Van Wert, Ohio was about just under an hour away from Fort Wayne, Indiana, which happened to be one of the areas they happened to be selling the players. And my brother was living in Fort Wayne at the time, and he told me about the DVD players coming out, and they had them in stock at some of the places. So I thought, what the hell, let's go ahead and go check them out. I didn't plan on buying one, but unfortunately I made a mistake of taking money with me. So I bought the 3006, the higher end one. But luckily enough, I didn't pay the retail. I actually still have the receipt from Lehman Electronics. I paid $5.99 for it. And at the time, unfortunately, because of the test markets, no one had any titles in Fort Wayne. The closest place to get titles were online or go to Chicago. So the salesman actually wrote a couple web addresses if I wanted to buy some titles online until they became available. That was kind of a downfall, you know. I spent $600 for a DVD player and I had no movies. I actually had to wait a while for the actual national rollout. Now, the first title I did buy was Jumanji at Best Buy. Of course, now Best Buy is eliminating all their physical media. But think back when they had aisles and aisles of movies, you know, DVDs and all whatnot. Now imagine when they first started, I still remember when I bought Jumanji, they had 4 titles on the shelf. That's it. The brand new DVD format, we've got 4 titles for sale. And Jumanji was one of them. Another one was Fly Away Home, and I can't remember the other 2 because they're all Columbia TriStars. But yeah, this is I bought this on eBay as the original disc. I got rid of when I upgraded to Blu-ray. Very simple, you know, had the DVD and had the sleeve with it. Now some titles were also released not in just the standard keep cases. Some titles got released in jewel cases, which Jumanji actually came out in a jewel case. I went ahead and picked this up on eBay as well. All the same info, same style, the disc, but just put in the jewel case. I'm not sure how many was released this way, but I know there were some. I don't think Best Buy had the jewel case. I think it was one of the other record stores that carried movies, like Camelot or something. But they actually, I saw some in jewel cases and I thought it was kind of odd. Glad that they didn't go that way permanently. I'm not crazy, you know. I'd rather have the keep case. As far as menus go, here's a shot of Jumanji's menu on the DVD. And I mean, look at it now. Oh my God, it's so cheesy. It's like, what the hell? But back then it was cool shit. I was like, oh wow, this is pretty neat. And we've come a long way. They're just so generic. And here's a shot of the Outbreak menu, about just as generic. And a couple other cases in the beginning. Of course, the much hated Snapper case from the Warner Brothers, New Line, anything under their subsidiary companies. Cheap ass cardboard. And having to flip it open, and then you got your DVD in the tray. But yeah, I think everybody hated these things a passion. Luckily, I don't have too many left. Most of them I have in my collection. I converted to regular keep cases and downloaded artwork and actually print out covers. So actually, I've thrown away most of my Snapper cases. Also, we've had some oversized jewel cases, like my Judas Priest concert here. And there's many other types of cases out there for DVDs. I'm not going to go through, but definitely check out a YouTube channel called Serial at Midnight. He actually has a video talking about a lot of the different DVD cases. And there's a few of them I'd never seen before, and it's just crazy what these companies are thinking when they produce this shit. Definitely check out his channel. He's got some pretty good stuff. I'll leave a link below for that video. Definitely check that out. And you also probably like some of the other stuff he's done. He's got some pretty good videos. And it's hard to believe it's been 25 years since the DVD has launched, and it's still going strong. And right now, DVD is still outselling Blu-ray. I mean, a lot of it probably due to the cost. I mean, your average consumer could give a shit about quality. They just want a cheap experience. And, you know, a DVD is the cheapest option. But I'm hoping to see more of that change as, you know, Blu-ray players are really cheap now, and the Blu-rays you can find dirt deals, and they definitely are a lot cheaper now. Now, I still buy DVDs now and then, but usually, like TV shows, if it's not action-oriented, a lot of your classic TV shows, I could live with standard definition. I think I've only got 2 TV shows on Blu-ray. I've got Grimm and Fringe. Other than that, all my TV shows are on DVD. I recently bought, I'm still buying NCIS. I got them all on DVD. Warehouse 13, I just recently picked up that entire set on DVD. And movie-wise, if, like some of your family, the Christian movies, simple things like that. If I don't need to spend the extra for a Blu-ray, or sometimes it's not available on Blu-ray, so I just go ahead and, get the DVD for a few bucks. Some people refuse to buy that standard definition, but it's like, I'll support it. I mean, sure, I like the better quality, but it's mainly with the action, something that I want the best quality, then I'll definitely hold out for the Blu-ray or 4K. I currently have 959 titles on DVD in my collection. That pretty much does it for the DVD part of this video. So let's move on. Next up, we have DivX, which stands for Digital Video Express. It was launched in 1998, a year after DVD. It was basically aimed at people that like to rent and they wanted to get the movies out there at a lower cost, so you didn't have to purchase the title for play. It was the disposable disc format. It would play for 48 hours. But of course, you needed a special DivX enhanced DVD player with a phone jack to play them. And they would not play it on a standard DVD player. And if you did try playing one of these discs on a DVD player, you would get this on your screen. Basically, the player included a security chip that controlled the encode decode of the digital content. Then you would also have to set up an account with DivX, and then you'd have to access that account on your player at least once a month. Here's actually a screenshot of the DivX registration. Found this online because I don't have a DivX player. At the end of the initial viewing period, which you had 48 hours from the time when you first put the disc in. Once you start playing, you got 48 hours. Then it's no longer playable. But at the end, if you wanted to purchase additional time, most titles you could do that. Here's a screenshot from a disc showing how to do that. And some discs actually had the option of purchasing unlimited time, where they called it silver. Now, from what I read, the stores would have actually silver copies. You can just buy it straight right there. And as soon as you start playing it, it's unlocked, unlimited play. And plus, if I remember right, you can actually play the silver disc on other DivX players, not just yours. Where there's standard, if you just upgraded for like a couple extra days, you could only play it on your player and no one else's, just on your account. Basically, the format was a partnership between Circuit City and a law firm, Ziffrin, Brittingham, Branca, and Fisher. That's a mouthful. But after a quiet showing at the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas in January of 1998, 20th Century Fox became interested, and in February they signed a deal to release their movies on the format. Eventually, other studios supported the format, which was DreamWorks, Paramount, Touchstone, MGM, Universal. And after initial delays, the initial run was test marketed in San Francisco and Richmond, Virginia. And it started in June 1998. And at the start, only one player was available, the Zenith, and it sold for $499. And at the time, no more than 50 titles were available. The nationwide rollout started in September that year with about 150 titles and still one Zenith player, and about 990 stores in the western U.S. And at the launch, DivX was sold exclusively through Circuit City, Good Guys, and Ultimate Electronics retailers. Again, it was aimed at the rental market. They advertised no returns, no late fees. Consumers could just throw their disc away after viewing. Some retailers actually added recycling bins at their stores. Thomson's player arrived in October, and Panasonic actually put out one in December. And there was a lot of opposition at launch. We had existing owners of DVD players. You had to buy another expensive piece of equipment if you wanted to get in on DivX. And plus, the DivX players were much more expensive. DVD players were a lot cheaper at that time. You also had environmental groups concerned with the amount of discs that were being thrown out. At the beginning, the DVD creators, Sony and Toshiba, they denounced DivX, and so did major studio Warner. They didn't have support the format at all. Plus, another downside was most titles were released in a pan and scan format and not widescreen. And at the time, a lot of home theater enthusiasts, we wanted a widescreen format. After the 1998 holiday season, sales started falling, and by March of 1999, about 419 titles were available, and retailers actually started pulling out. By May, studio support, started phasing out. Paramount was refusing to convert their discs to the silver format, and later they stopped producing DivX titles entirely. By the format's first anniversary, the future of the format looked very grim. We only had 5 DivX compatible players, 478 titles, and only Circuit City selling DivX discs. The format was discontinued on June 16, 1999. Over the next 2 years, the DivX system was phased out. The program officially cut off access to all accounts on July 7th, 2001. So at least they gave them, once the format was discontinued, they gave the people a couple additional years to watch their stuff. But yeah, it kind of sucked. And you imagine pumping all that money out for a new player and get some movies and boom, it's dead. I know I didn't buy into it. I was against it from the beginning. It just added more confusion to the consumer. For my research for these videos, I went ahead and I did want to have some for my collection for media. And I actually did buy a few on eBay. You can actually find these, a lot of them on eBay. And here's one actually released. They did a widescreen release of this one. Comes with some cardboard and plastic. Opens fairly easy. There's your disc. But yeah, I did put this on my Blu-ray player and got that little screen telling me it's unplayable, calling Divic's number, blah, blah, blah. Now here's a few more that are unopened. Here we've got Patch Adams. This one sold for $1.99 when it was brand new. Armageddon, it cost $4.49. Man in Iron Mask. Volcano. And Dragonheart. Again, like I said, they do come with Adobe Digital or DTS, but full frame, pan and scan formats. So overall, that was pretty much does it for the Divx format. I'm glad it didn't pan out. Now next up, we have another disposable format. As if we had enough issues with Divx, we had someone else decide, let's try something different. We have EZD. It was developed by FlexPlay Technologies in 2003. Basically, it was another attempt, another DVD you can buy and you didn't have to return, you dispose of afterwards. But unlike the failed Divx format, which required a special player, EZD, it could be played on any DVD player as it required no special decoding. This disc used a special oxygen reactive glue compound in the disc, which once opening the vacuum sealed pouch, the disc would darken from red to opaque black after 48 hours, preventing the laser in the DVD player from reading. A blue laser could penetrate that coating and read, so they actually added another red dye and a plastic coating which would prevent a blue laser from penetrating that and going straight through the oxygen reactive dye. Now unopened, the disc was said to have a 12 to 18 month shelf life, and we'll talk a little bit more on that later. When FlexPlay first test marketed this in 2003, it was sold under the EZD moniker and was reserved solely for Disney releases and their subsidiary studios. And they sold for about $6.99 each. Actually, I tried searching for these online. I could not find any available. Apparently they were all destroyed or just none could be had. I cannot find any. But about a year later in 2004, the price point had dropped to $4.99. But it still failed to get a hold of with the consumers. I guess after the Divx old deal, people just still was not interested, even though it could be played on DVD player. People were just like, screw it, we got DVD, we don't want this shit. But finally in 2008, FlexPlay found a willing partner in Staple, and the format was rebranded as FlexPlay. The EZD name was dropped off the moniker completely. They offered the DVDs in their stores, and they actually even set up recycling bins for the disc after viewing. And they finally got, instead of just Disney, they got agreements with other studios. They got Paramount, Warner Brothers, New Line Cinema, and the Stars. They all signed on to release movies in a FlexPlay format. But the only problem was it was 2008, which by this time you had Netflix where you could sign up, pay a monthly fee, get a DVD sent to your house, you return at your leisure, no late fees, and plus you had some, streaming started coming around. But, FlexPlay continued to limp along for a couple more years. But once DVDs made the leap to Blu-ray, FlexPlay did not make that leap to the new technology. Time of death was 2011. Now you can buy some of these FlexPlay discs online. You can get them from $20, $30 on up, depending on what you find. I got the Golden Compass. This comes in this cardboard sleeve that folds open. And you pull the pouch out and actually opened it. Was actually sealed. There's actually a little hub that it sits on. Now it's been a week and a half since I opened this. And it's, as you can see, it's still pretty red, hasn't turned black. You probably can't see up on the inner hub. This was stamped in June of 2009. So this disc is 13 years old. And I did a test right off the bat in my 4K Blu-ray player, and it played. Checked the next day, played. 2 days later, played. So I was expecting to turn black and become unplayable. And our third and fourth day, man, this thing is still playing. You know, play a preview, went to the menu, functions, you know, play, I can play, pause, scan, skip to the next chapters. But then, as I was collecting my notes for this, doing this, that's when I learned about the blue laser deal. And I was like, damn, what the fuck was I thinking? I should have done this test on a regular DVD player instead of my 4K Blu-ray. So I went ahead and I did throw it into my other DVD players. You know, I've got a region-free DVD, and I got my Xbox 360, my PS2, and it wouldn't play on any of them. So, you know, of course, it'd been 3 to 4 days, so I didn't know. I should have tested the first day, so I'm not sure if, you know, the 13 years of the shelf life actually did, if it was playable or not. I don't know. Of course, I don't think the wife wants me to spend another $30 to do another test. So, but in all, after 13 years, even with blue laser, it shouldn't be playable, but it does. I mean, sure it plays, but it looked like shit being a standard DVD format. So I would never recommend it, but if you like different media for your collections, and you know, definitely get online, you can find these and add one for a decent price. The final digital video disc format today that we're covering is UMD, which is Universal Media Disc. This was launched by Sony in 2004. Basically, it was designed for their PlayStation Portable device, or PSP. Also, you know, you had your games, came on a little cartridge. You can see a very small disc at about 2.5 inches. Came in a little cartridge to protect the disc and had a little opening on the back that allowed the laser to read. I don't have a PSP anymore. I did have one for a little while. Not really for gaming. I was using it for sharing pictures of whatnot because I had an SD card. I was putting pictures on it and taking to work, showing people, seeing my pictures. It had the same resolution as DVD. And UMD had many studios supporting the format. I mean, we had Columbia TriStar, Universal, the Paramount, MGM, 20th Century Fox, Lionsgate, Warner, Touchstone, New Line, and there was quite a few other ones, even a lot of the little independent studios. And also major retailers stocked the format as well. I can still remember seeing them at, you know, Walmart when I went to the store. But the format never really caught on. And poor sales early in the format's life caused Universal and Paramount to rescind their support. And retailers started experiencing the same issue. They started phasing out after a couple years because of, you know, taking up disc shelf space that was dedicated to UMD. And after Walmart, other chains followed. Since 2011, no more movies have been released on the format. And in 2014, Sony discontinued the PSP altogether. And all over 600 titles were available on the format. You can check them out on this website I found. And it's pretty cool. You can browse through and see what was available. I link it below in the description. Now, my thoughts on the format. To me, it was cool from a portability standpoint. You know, as small as the disc were, because, you know, they had little cases you can put them in to travel with, so you can easily, if you have to take a plane ride or a car ride, and, you know, kids, you know, watch their movies on a little PSP, you know, small screen. I went ahead and picked up one of my all-time favorite movies, Alien, on UMD. As small as the disc was, it's crazy the size of the case. As you can see here, and the disc pops right out. You can see the front side. And on the back, you can see the opening. Of the failed formats, this is definitely one that, you know, if I had to choose to bring any of these formats back, I think it would be UMD. It'd be nice to to have something that portable. So with the smartphones nowadays, people can stream and you can watch movies that way. So it's hard to tell how that would go. It boils down to physical media aspect of the whole thing. Sure, you can stream it, but what happens if it's no longer available? So here, it'd be, you got it, you got the disc you can have. So it would be cool to see a portable format again for physical media. So that pretty much does it for my evolution of physical media part 3. Your digital video discs that were standard definition. I hope you enjoyed. My next one will be the high definition digital formats such as HD, DVD, Blu-ray, and finally 4K ultra high def. Again, I'm trying to do all of them in one video. I thought would have been too much, so I decided to split them up between standard def and then high def. Make it a little bit easier. I'm sure this is long enough. Hopefully you made it through, and I hope you really enjoyed this. If you have not yet watched the other episodes, please go back through my channel and check out the other videos, episodes 1 and 2, covering video cassettes and analog video disc. So if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe and turn your bell notifications on. And we'll be seeing you again. Geek out!